guys. I'm sorry, I just had to start the video with "oh hey guys." It would have been weird to not start with it. Anyway, I'm going to show you my list of the top 10 new games I played in 2023. And when I say new, I mean the game is new for me, and that 2023 was the first official time playing it. You know, I only played about 20 or so hours in this game, which isn't very much considering how much there is in this game, but it only took 20 to make it in this list. Now, going ahead and getting complaints out of the way with this game, I don't like that the gunplay isn't improved from Fallout 3, and I know that's probably not Obsidian's fault. They were probably rushed by Bethesda to finish this game, and I don't know, it could have been also difficult for them if they were to do that with the hardware they had to work with, but still, it's just a bit dated and clunky. Also, the wasteland looks very empty, and sometimes is, but there's apparently like 700 something locations, so maybe I'm just blind. Anyway, the quests in this game are fantastic. I've only done a few, but they were so much fun and made me want to play more of the game. The quality of them was just awesome. I wasn't doing a bunch of fetch quests, I was doing quests of actual substance and fun. Also, the role-playing elements are fantastic. It's what the game got praised for, but I haven't done a lot with them, besides seeing that I could use my perk to get out of a required quest, attempting to do the quest, then loading a save from before I took the quest, and using my perk to get the guy to do what I want and getting the quest as an optional thing. I loved that. Also, all the different factions with all different worldviews and being able to side with whichever one aligns with your views, or just picking the one that seems the most evil. Yeah, a fantastic game that I need to play more of, but played just enough to understand the beauty of the game and put it on this list.
I feel the need for speed.
I don't have a cool song or intro for this one because if I tried to use a song from the game, I would most certainly get a copyright strike. So, anyway, yeah. Need for Speed Unbound. Woo! Alright, I'm going to leave and let myself talk more about this game, so goodbye. Thank you for that mediocre introduction, Cage. Need for Speed Unbound is one of the coolest and one of the most unique racing games to come out in a while, and I loved it. Having played Need for Speed Heat, this is a step up in my book. The campaign is a lot longer, but not too long, which is great. The customization is fantastic, and so is the car list. The most unique thing about it is the art style and special effects. The effects are very cartoonish, and I really like them, as well as the lightly cel-shaded cars. To me, it's one of the best looking art styles I've seen for a racing game. The races and events are awesome, as well as the updated night and day system taken from Need for Speed Heat that isn't really that much better. The map and city is great, and my biggest complaint is not many different types of race events and just really overall not enough race events. I think there should just be a few more events and types of events to make the game more interesting. There just isn't enough.
I like you, and I want you. Now we can do this the easy way, or we can do it the hard way.
Metroid Dread is like the name. Dreadful. This game is awesome and fun and difficult and panic-inducing when I'm in an Emmy zone. The big labyrinth of a map makes it very linear because you always are directed to go where the next piece of equipment is that's needed to get past certain obstacles. It makes it restricting if you try to go get a bunch of collectibles until pretty much towards the end. It's designed so that there's always some collectibles on the way to where you need to go, and requires gear that you've already collected, but there's also a bunch of hidden collectibles and stuff that requires gear that you get near the end of the game. The bosses are really difficult and fun. The Emmy zones, where you have to avoid these robots hunting you, is dreadful, and 100%ing the game is really fun. Fun fact time. I don't 100% that many games. Usually when I try to 100% games, it ends up feeling like a chore and not fun, so I give up because it's not worth it. Metroid Dread is not like that at all. All the collectibles that I had to get weren't all shown on the map and weren't really easy to spot going through the world, but it was also not too hard trying to find where the collectibles were and where they were hidden. It also didn't take too long and didn't drag out the game too much, and felt genuinely fun. I not only didn't find it a chore to 100% the game, but I also just genuinely enjoyed 100%ing the game. Yep, that's Metroid Dread. It's pretty awesome.
And one of the great things about having a fully dynamic game engine is all of this just works.
The 2011 Game of the Year that had such an impact on the gaming industry and the open world genre as a whole that has warranted 5 re-releases over the decade. My god, calm down, Todd Howard. As reluctant as I've always been to play this game, well, not really, I just haven't been able to get around to it. It has been such an experience that I haven't finished because I started playing this game at the very end of the year, as well as another game on this list, and it kind of came out of nowhere for me on this list. Skyrim is such a big and beautiful world with so many things to do and places to see to always keep me engaged in the game, and surprisingly, the gameplay was not just button mashing like I thought it was going to be. You could button mash your way through most of the game, but the game is so much easier and so much more fun when you actually try using all the weapons at your disposal. I always use the dragon shouts to get a step up in fights because it's basically like secondary magic spells that don't use up your magic meter. And I also use different spells to shoot lightning at enemies or conjure fire beings? I don't know. And of course I have a trusty sword which makes for an ultimate assault combo to use as I explore the hundreds of dungeons in this game. Now the game is still a little dated with gameplay and graphics because of the hardware it's on, and the role-playing aspects are pretty dumbed down compared to other games, which by the way really makes me want to try Oblivion and Morrowind, but it's still good, and dumbing down the role-playing elements was necessary for trying to get all types of people to play their game. I don't like the precedent they set with this game and paid mods though. Wow, Todd Howard, thank you so much for the common practice of microtransactions. But, disregarding what this game did to Bethesda's mindset, and looking at the game, good job, Bethesda.
It's a me, a Mario.
Ah, 2D Mario platforming goodness. This game truly is peak. and one of my favorite Mario games along with Galaxy 2, 3D World, and Odyssey. Super Mario Bros. Wonder looked at a really bland and basic series of 2D Mario games and decided to be actually good. This game's core concept is so unique, with the levels completely changing into random utter chaos when you touch a Wonder Flower. Every level is so unique and different from the last that all of the levels together make this game seem so much bigger, and the levels are just so fun to play through and revisit to replay. The art style and graphics are so beautiful that I could stare at this screen all day. Also, the level design is just so top-notch and varied. It's just insane! The badges add so much to the sense of progression in the game, and are actually useful when it comes to the platforming in levels. This would be a perfect 2D Mario game if the bosses didn't suck. The final boss is amazing, but all the other bosses are just Bowser Jr., and Two Worlds don't even have bosses. So fun! Other than that one problem though, this game is just amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to this song. Isn't it just so elegant? So fancy? So snobby? This song is from the hit game Super Mario RPG Remake for the Nintendo Switch family of systems. Now, this remake of a game in 1996 isn't even considered to be the best Mario RPG, but this is now one of my favorite games of all time because it did something I didn't think was ever possible. It got me into turn-based RPGs. I'm not joking. Until this game, I have always hated turn-based RPGs and have never been able to get into them. Mostly because I never tried, but I saw the trailer for this remake of a game I never thought about and was like, dang, that looks pretty good. The turn-based combat is really engaging because it does incorporate a little bit of action, being able to press a button at the right time to block enemy attacks or to do a super attack on enemies. The action commands kept me engaged throughout the game, but when I got to the boss fights, I actually had to think of proper strategies, and that is how this game got me into turn-based RPGs. The story, as you could expect, is pretty weird and wacky, but also kind of interesting, and the characters are really cool. I finally understand the Geno for Smash Bros. People. Exploring the various areas in the game was also really fun, and finding secret places with cool treasure was pretty awesome. Weird Peach Easter egg.
Oh, great heavens!
Wow, that was so horrific that I'm going to drown myself so as to not be in a world where that exists. Yeah, one weird Easter egg, that's for sure. Anyway, while there are so many great things about this game, I think the best thing is a specific character. We're talking about a character that's cooler than Master Chief, cooler than Doom Guy, cooler than Link, even cooler than Mario himself. The best video game character to ever exist. Booster. Notice the change in song. The first song you heard plays in Booster's tower, not matching the vibes of Booster himself, and this song plays when you're talking to Booster. This freaky, weird, cool, epic guy is the peak of gaming. I also am on a mission to gaslight the entire gaming community into thinking he's the best video game character of all time. Because he is. Booster. 2 boosters. 3 boosters. 50 boosters. Booster in a booster. 2 boosters in a booster. Booster with a rooster. Yeah, this game is simply peak. However, there are a couple more games that I enjoyed more this year. Or last year. It's gonna take me a while to get used to the new year.
The Fitness Gram Pacer test is a multi-stage aerobic capacity test that progressively gets more difficult as it continues.
Metroid Prime is a masterpiece and one of my favorite games of all time. So a definitive version of Metroid Prime with a more modern control scheme, amazing graphics, and widescreen is just what I wanted. I actually hadn't beaten the original Metroid Prime when the remake came out, but I did beat it before I got too far in the remake, and man, is this game good. A first-person shooter with a little bit of puzzle solving, platforming, backtracking, lots of collecting, and great boss fights. Imagine a Metroidvania game, but in 3D, and with a first-person perspective. That's what this is. It's absolutely amazing. The gameplay loop is really fun, going through rooms of enemies to get to the next piece of gear and sometimes fighting a boss. Finding collectibles you can't get to yet, but coming back to it when you have the right item is sublime. And so is using your scan visor to learn about what these space pirates are doing on this planet and how they're making super soldiers for their army. Also feeling like there might be a secret in the area you're in, and then using all the different visors to see if you can find a secret is just so cool. I also love the final boss. The difficulty, the presentation, the atmosphere, the music, and the fight itself is just amazing. And while the controls and gameplay are a little unconventional for a first-person shooter, I find it really fun. Also, the remake does actually have normal controls. It's just that you're still going to have to play the game the way it was originally designed with the lock-on feature. This game is a fantastic remake of one of my favorite games of all time, and being able to play it anywhere and on the go is awesome. Alright, we're now closing in on my top 3 games that I played in 2023, so before that, I'm going to show some honorable mentions. Games that I didn't start this year and already experienced the joy of before, but that I revisited this year and finished. Although I might go back to them again.
And the game of the year is Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Gate 3, the actual game of the year in 2023. And honestly, one of my favorite games of all time now. Honestly, when I first started thinking of all the games I was going to put on this list, I actually put this game lower because I just started playing this game at the end of 2023, and the game just gets better and better the more I play. I didn't think this game was going to beat out Super Mario RPG for me because of the fact that Super Mario RPG was the first game to get me into turn-based RPGs, and because of that, I do have a certain fondness for Super Mario RPG that can't be matched, but still, this game exceeds Mario RPG in almost every way. Almost. I also didn't think it was going to beat Metroid Prime Remastered, because Metroid Prime is one of my favorite games of all time. I just didn't think anything would beat that masterpiece of a game. Yet Baldur's Gate 3 does just that, and is even more of a masterpiece. Larian Studios, the developers of this game, just made this game because they liked the original Baldur's Gate games and wanted to make a new one since the original developers just couldn't. It's a whole story that I don't want to get into. Anyway, this game is amazing. As a gameplay-oriented gamer, the combat is amazing. I had no idea Dungeons & Dragons could be so fun. It's probably fun because it's in the form of a video game, though. There's so much freedom. I can attack anyone I want, and can do it in cool ways like my favorite thing to do, which is dropping smoke powder and fire wine barrels in front of who I want to kill, backing up, shooting a fireball, and watching the fireworks. Same with the quests. You can kill people that might have important quests for you, and you can go about completing the quests in various different ways, like not doing what the quest actually wants you to do. And the companion characters and story are so good. Throughout the game, you learn so much about these companion characters and their stories, and can build good relationships or bad relationships with all of them. And the way it all connects with the main story, which I won't spoil, but it's great and written really well. Couple that with how much your decisions will affect the rest of the game, and it's perfect. I just kept calculating how many alternate paths, conversations, and situations I could have taken, and the amount of possibilities is astounding. All in all, this game is a masterpiece that did deserve the Game of the Year award with how much it's pushing the gaming industry forward. This game is so good that when it released, it scared these big, rich game companies so much because they were worried they were going to have to make games with the same level of quality and detail as Baldur's Gate 3. This game set standards, but there's still 2 more games I played in 2023 that I enjoyed a little more. This game is absolute perfection. Pikmin games are some of the most unique Nintendo games in terms of gameplay, story, atmosphere, and everything. This game takes the Pikmin formula and literally perfects it. It takes all the different concepts from past games, brings them back, and brings new concepts to the table. Caves from Pikmin 2 are brought back and made actually good. The limited time to collect a certain number of parts from Pikmin 1 is brought back in the form of Olimar's Tail, which isn't just a side mode because you have to beat it in order to get closer to unlocking the white and purple onions. Floralick, which increases the number of Pikmin you can have in the field, and the Gear Shop adds so much to the progression of Pikmin 4, which other Pikmin games didn't have the same level of. The amount of new things this game has over previous Pikmin games is crazy. The areas are so much bigger and so much more vibrant and so much more packed than previous Pikmin games, and there's so many extra things like the challenges that are now built into the campaign, and night expeditions which really push the strategy and fun of the combat in Pikmin 4. Every cave feels so different and are all designed so precisely, and all of them are just so amazing to explore and collect treasure in. There are so many creatures to discover as you play through the game with so many different characteristics and traits that can also be viewed on the Piclopedia with multiple unique descriptions of every creature. There are so many types of Pikmin now, with all previous Pikmin types returned for this amazing adventure in the campaign. There's just so many things about this game that make it so perfect and amazing that I could go into so much more detail. But alas, I have to move on to my actual, definitive favorite game that I played in 2023.
Well, excuse me, princess.
this is tied for my favorite game of all time, between like 5 other Zelda games. It's amazing. To me, this is a perfect sequel to Breath of the Wild and a near perfect Zelda game overall. There's been lots of discussion about the future of Zelda, so I feel the need to say that the perfect Zelda game will be the one to perfectly balance the open-air aspects of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and the linear dungeons and story of past Zelda games. The dungeons and storytelling are the weakest points of the game, but literally everything else about the game makes up for it. Like, come on! The abilities in Tears of the Kingdom are way better than the abilities in Breath of the Wild. Being able to move so many interactable objects in the world and attach them to other interactable objects to build almost anything with Ultra Hand is amazing. Being able to fuse almost any part to your weapon to increase damage and durability is so creative, and so much more interesting than how weapons worked in Breath of the Wild, and makes finding and creating weapons so much fun. I can ascend through ceilings or anything I put above my head. Such a weird ability, but comes in real handy when it comes to traversal and puzzle solving. I can reverse objects in time to do cool things I didn't know were possible, and to retrieve objects that fell out of reach. The shrines are so much more fun than in Breath of the Wild because instead of one solution to puzzles, there are many. With all of the different abilities, the game allows you to solve puzzles or complete challenges in many different ways besides the intended way, and it makes the shrines a lot more fun when you have so much more freedom in the puzzle solving. While there aren't that many Sky Islands and there isn't too much to explore on them, I love how much stuff to do there is up in the sky. Pretty much every Sky Island has some kind of activity, shrine, and or treasure on it, and I love that. I'm also glad they did give us one chain of Sky Islands with lots to explore on the Great Sky Island, which is also where the tutorial area is, and in my opinion, it's way better than the tutorial area in Breath of the Wild. It's so much more interesting than the Great Plateau and has more cool places to explore and check out, and I also love how it's semi-linear. There's a specific path the game wants you to take when going through the shrines on the Great Sky Island, but you don't have to take it if you don't want to. But it is more difficult if you don't take the path it wants you to take. There's a bunch of places to explore on your way to the different shrines, and that makes landing in Hyrule so much more fun because you experience a semi-free tutorial in the beginning, and then you land in the vast land of Hyrule that's all yours to explore. They added so much more to Hyrule itself with caves, wells, Addison signs, more interesting quests than Breath of the Wild, more shrines of course, and more monster camps in addition to much bigger monster forts. I also really like the depths. I felt like everybody enjoyed the depths when getting all the light roots, special treasures, and refighting all the dungeon bosses, but I continued to enjoy it even after. I like having more to explore, and the depths just gave me that. And I still find cool stuff in the depths just exploring when I play. Also, there's lots of things to do when it comes to monster camps. There's so many monster camps and bosses in the depths with so many Zonai device outposts that all pretty much make it a big playground for post-game activities. It's also where you get many important resources that you need to get good stuff in the game. I could go so much deeper into why I love this game, but I've already talked about this game way more than any other on this list, so I have to stop unfortunately, but I'm glad I was able to cover all the important stuff. So that was my top 10 list for all the games I played in 2023, and I would be interested to see yours. But anyway, I'm gonna continue my life of being a drain on society.